It's the day after a high-stakes diplomatic handshake in China's Tianjin, and the stage now shifts to the multilateral table and that crucial meeting with Putin. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping met yesterday for their first bilateral talks in 7 years, a meeting that both sides have described as a reset, not just a replay. At the heart of the discussion, a carefully crafted message that India and China are partners and not rivals, and that their relationship will be guided by strategic autonomy, not dictated by any third country. So Prime Minister Modi met Xi Jinping first and is now meeting Vladimir Putin, both on Chinese soil. How is Beijing interpreting this diplomatic choreography? Does China see India's proximity to Russia as an opportunity or a threat? And how should the world decode this? Our attention now shifts to the significant bilateral talks between Prime Minister Modi and Russian President Vladimir Putin. Gauri Dwivedi has been tracking the latest. We know that this meeting carries global implications spanning energy and geopolitics. It's over to Gauri Dwivedi for the latest from Ground Zero now.
Hello and welcome. I'm coming to you live from Tianjin in China. It's the day when the summit, the SCO summit, is set to begin very shortly. It's a very warm, sunny, windy day here in Tianjin, essentially setting the stage for what could be more than just warm greetings. It could be a very strong show of solidarity, unity and support amongst the Global South members. And probably pushing back against the economic bullying. That could be one aspect coming in from the Trump administration. And second could be the connectivity aspirations that all of them have, particularly the entire Eurasia belt. That could be the other focus of the SCO summit. But viewers, if you're tuning in right now, the early morning in this special broadcast from Tianjin, we tell you that it's not just the SCO summit here, which is going to be extremely significant for India, but also a bilateral meeting between Prime Minister Modi and President Putin. Now, this meeting comes just days after, actually just 48 hours after the Ukrainian President Zelensky reached out to Prime Minister Modi to say that he needs a solution to end the war. It comes days after Trump administration actually called the Russia-Ukraine war Modi's war. It comes just days after the sanctions that have been levied, the 25% additional sanctions that have been levied by Trump administration for import of Russian oil have kicked in. So there's a lot of context to it. There's a lot of expectation. And there's going to be a lot of big headlines that NDTV will get you first. But I want to first play out this report that tells you exactly why this bilateral meeting between Prime Minister Modi and President Putin is going to be game-changing on many levels. Take a look at this report. We come back and talk more.
Red carpets, power handshakes, and high global stakes. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Russian President Vladimir Putin are in China, joining over 20 world leaders at a high-stakes SCO summit. The summit comes at a critical juncture. India and China are cautiously re-engaging, and Washington's trade war is intensifying. The U.S. has slapped some of the world's highest tariffs on Indian goods, citing New Delhi's continued imports of Russian oil as funding the war in Ukraine. But India has stood firm, making it clear that it will not tolerate U.S.'s accusations. New Delhi's message is clear: national interests come first, and India will seek the best deal for its people, not one dictated by Washington. After the Modi-Xi handshake, all eyes are now on the big Modi and Putin talks, a bilateral with global ripple effects. From energy to geopolitics, it'll be a meeting the world will be watching closely. The Prime Minister is expected to raise the issue of the Russia-Ukraine war and weigh in on the need for a ceasefire in talks between Putin and Ukrainian President Zelensky, to whom he spoke to ahead of the SCO summit, expressing India's full support for efforts to restore peace and stability. The Modi-Putin meet comes as India and China have hit a reset. Prime Minister Modi had his first bilateral meet with President Xi Jinping since the deadly Galwan clash, saying it's time to move forward with trust and respect.
With renewed China ties and deepening Russia relationship, New Delhi is charting its own course and defying Washington's pressure tactics, and in the process, leaning into the BRICS alliance. From Tianjin to Washington, New Delhi is showing this unity that could redraw global power lines. And amidst all this is the powerful Modi-Putin handshake. From Tianjin, Gauri Dwivedi for NDTV.
All right, Aditya Rajkor, my colleague, also joins me on the broadcast. We've been covering every aspect of this historic SCO summit and also the bilateral engagements that Prime Minister Modi is having. And in fact, Aditya, the one thing that we need to now tell our viewers in terms of the significance of the meeting that will take place, the bilateral meeting that will take place post the SCO summit. There's everything on the table, from trade to defense deals to a concerted push back as far as the Trump administration's rhetoric is concerned regarding import of Russian oil and natural gas. So enough and more on the table between the two leaders to discuss.
That's right. Good morning to all the viewers of NDTV. We are coming live from the main venue of the SCO summit here in Tianjin, China. It's the day 2 of the big SCO summit and several activities taking place on the sidelines. In fact, Prime Minister Narendra Modi met Xi Jinping yesterday. That was the big talking point. But today is a bigger headline when Modi meets Putin and there's discussion on the Ukraine war and perhaps a message from Zelensky as well, who spoke to Modi roughly about 36 hours ago to plead before Russia, to plead before Putin to come on the dialogue table to in fact bring in peace and larger end to this conflict that's been raging for more than 3 years. In fact, let me begin this day, the first bulletin of the day here on NDTV, the special bulletin that's coming to you live from China, by telling you what's being reported here in China after the day 1 of the successful SCO summit and Prime Minister's engagements, initially with the Chinese President Xi Jinping and thereafter at the SCO gala dinner. Now I'm holding in front of me the China Daily, and the headline of the China Daily is SCO plays key role in safeguarding peace. This is the top headline of the China Daily. But if you go towards the anchor piece on the very front page, that is talking about the India-China resetting of the ties. It says partnership seen as a vital for Sino-Indian relations. You can see, the entire anchor piece here with the photograph of Xi Jinping and, of course, Modi, tightly shaking hands. Will this handshake really lead to a resetting of the ties is anybody's guess right now, but some small steps being taken in the direction of people-to-people contact. So this is basically the anchor piece, the front line of the China Daily. Also, the editorial of China Daily talks about the new ties between India and China and how this is a message to the West. So clearly, the most of the coverage here in the newspapers in China is about, India, China discussing a resetting of the ties and how, border clashes and boundary issues should not be becoming impediments.